Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. We've got the journos in the bin where they belong for 10 minutes because I have Andrew Webster from the Sydney Morning Herald, Brent Reid from the Australian and David Riccio from the Daily Telegraph. Welcome, gentlemen. Broncos CEO Paul White felt the need to call a press conference this morning after last night's loss once again. What was the main thing you took out of that?
Well, I supported the coach again, which is the same thing we've heard probably, 3 weekends in a row now, that the coach has got the full backing of the board. I'm not sure what it really achieved, Stella. It was much of a muchness. It's sort of the same thing that we keep hearing over and over again. I think Paul wanted to speak out on behalf of the players because we saw those emotional scenes after the game last night, but you know, it's got to the point where words don't matter anymore. It's about actions and winning footy games, and it doesn't matter what they say. The Brisbane supporters and fans want to see some wins.
I don't think it's actually helping by continually assuring the coach that his position is safe. I think it sends a really weird message that, that they're constantly reviewing it. Anthony Seibold keeps reminding us that he's got a 5-year deal. And on that note, I think I said it on this show last week, and I just want to clarify it. So there was a belief that there was a get-out clause for the Broncos, a performance clause if things had turned out the way they are. If they wanted to sack Anthony Seibold early, then they could get rid of him with a termination payout. Well, that's not the case because Darren Lockyer confirmed on 100% footy on Monday night that there's no such clause. So the deal is a 5-year deal with a sixth that goes Anthony Seibold's way. That's an extraordinary show of faith in the Broncos board after getting rid of Wayne Bennett, after overlooking Kevin Walters to appoint him to that position for that length of time. So if they get rid of him, I said it on this here last week, and I'll have to say it again, given what's happened overnight, is if the board sack Anthony Seibold, they'll have to sack themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I think we all agree on that the COVID period we would take out of it is that the best coach side would be the best performing side. I think we're seeing the best administrative club in the league is being the most successful club in the league. We look at Parramatta, we don't hear a single mention of their board anymore. We look at the Brisbane Broncos and their flaws aren't just at coaching level, they go right up to the top. And the way this has been handled, you can delve right into the 5-year deal. The press conference today, Paul White said in that press conference that now's not the time to make rash decisions in a shortened season, but we'll potentially have a look at it at the back end of the year. They are merely papering over the cracks at the moment, and I think it says more about the administration currently at the Broncos than just as much as it does about
Paul White's apparently the next NRL CEO. He's put his hand up for that job. Whitey's got to come in for a lot of criticism for the way this is going.
Well, Whitey's gone a couple of months anyway because they're about to start a search for a new CEO anyway. I mean, I think it's a bit harsh to say they're a poorly run club. I mean, they've been a really well-run club for a long time. They've just got one decision that's questionable, and maybe they've got it wrong. Anthony's 30 games into his career at the Broncos. By the looks of it, they've got one call wrong. It's a significant call, but you can't say they're a badly run club because they've made a poor decision just on the coach.
They're underachieving
big time.
They've won one comp in 20 years.
They've lost the stigma big time.
But I just think there's more. It's even more fundamental than that. Like, you can say what you want about the players and whether they're putting in or not, and it's almost like they're going through the 7 stages of grief. Last week it was they were laughing after the game, and this week they're in tears. I can't recall in all my time covering the game players crying after a loss. You see it after grand finals, you see it after origins and retirements, but I've never seen players crying on the sidelines after a loss like some of those players were yesterday.
I think in regards to the Broncos too, there is a perception that they have advantages with the net that they have.
Yes, but that's unfair still.
But they've also, the corporate support and that they get up there, that's the perception.
Well, financially, they're a well-run club. There's no doubt about that. But I think this perception they've got the whole of Queensland to choose from. That's wrong. I mean, people keep peddling that. It's like saying the Warriors got the whole of New Zealand. Yeah, but it's wrong.
It's a cultural thing. Young blokes in Queensland grow up wanting to play for the Broncos.
And they still do.
And what's
they still do.
So that's an advantage, don't you think?
What's the success that they've had, Reedy?
Well, I'm not saying they haven't been successful. I'm not saying they've been successful.
What we measure them on?
I'm saying they're a well-run club from a financial standpoint. They're an exceptionally well-run club.
Financially, they may be.
And they've
but
made
decision-making, they're poor.
When they won the last comp...
06,
right? They haven't won a comp in a long time. But they played finals every year and they've given themselves a shot. And they could have won a comp 5 years ago, 15, wasn't it? When, if things had gone their way, they've been unlucky that year. So, I mean, You know, one team wins a comp every year. They've been in the mix most years.
JT has come out...
What? One team wins a comp every year?
Jonathan Thurston said that the club should throw the kitchen sink to get Cameron Smith.
I don't disagree. I've been barking about this for ages, about the lack of experience that the Broncos... will it happen? No, it won't. But I understand what JT's saying, and that's where they've drastically gone wrong. Going and getting James Seguiaro last year, and then letting Andrew McCulloch go, and then bringing in Isaac Luke this year, that's the decision-making I'm talking about at the Broncos that is way off. And if JT... I get where JT is coming from. Cameron Smith would change... a lot on the footy in the group, as far as experience, leadership is concerned. They're drastically lacking.
That's a pipe dream, though. They would need the kitchen sink. They need the kitchen, the entire house. And then they still wouldn't get him. That just ain't happening. He's not...
But what JT's saying is right, essentially.
No one's disputing that they lack a bit of experience at the moment. The McCulloch thing was unlucky because Andrew McCulloch came to them, said, I want to go to Newcastle. A week later, Jake Turpin breaks his leg. No one could see that happening. That was unfortunate.
All right, the week started with Ricky Stewart coming out very strongly on behalf of the Canberra club in regards to John Bateman, the contract situation there, and player managers. I think we all agree that player managers... Well, I don't know, we all agree. I think player managers have too much control when it comes to areas of the game. On the back of what Ricky had to say and the Canberra club, will something change with the way that player management is involved in our game?
I think it's been talked about at an NRL level for a while. Peter V'landys, ever since he became chairman late last year, has talked about trying to regulate the player managers who run the game or control the game. There's already been moves afoot for some time about preventing player managers from managing players and also coaches at the one club.
COVID got in the way of that.
And then COVID got in the way of that and delayed that. You know, I know Ricky lined up Isaac, and you know Isaac has a lot of influence at a lot of clubs, particularly the Broncos and the Warriors, as we know, and he has had at other clubs, and that's moved and shifted over time. And a lot of coaches and CEOs don't like that that a player agent has that much control, but he's not the Lone Ranger, because it happens with other managers at other clubs and has been for quite some time. So I know that V'landys is keen to try and regulate it a little bit more, but I've been hearing about managers being regulated for about 20 years, so I'll believe it when it happens.
Yeah, you know, the Warriors was a bit unfair on Isaac because I think SFX has got 11 players. I think Isaac's got 4 at the Warriors. SFX has got 11. You know,
yeah, but he had the coach.
Webby's right. There's managers who've got pockets of players at every club. And I don't know how you can. I don't think you can say to a club you can only sign a maximum of 7, 8 players from one manager. And I just don't think that's possible. And I don't know how you could do that. But I certainly think you could prevent them. Well, you could try to prevent them managing players and coaches, but they'll just find a way around it.
Is it just the fact that the Bateman situation became so convoluted?
Troublesome?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but
I mean, Ricky Stewart spoke in the game. Ricky Stewart received a lot of support for sticking his head up and having a crack. Very much an unspoken discussion in relation to player agents. But I'm with Webby. Peter V'landys has got it on his agenda, but I don't know how you rein him back in.
Yeah. Why do we always have to? Why can't clubs have strong enough leadership that they can't prevent it happening? Yeah. Why do we always have to? Why do we always have to regulate? Why do we always have to regulate clubs and tell them what they can and can't do? Aren't they smart enough to do it themselves?
I agree to some extent.
Well, the Raiders have taken that stance.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I think the way that Canberra dealt with it, they put a deadline on it. They didn't get to it. See you later, John Bateman. I know it's unfortunate, but I think the thing that Canberra were mainly upset about was that they'd paid, nearly a $400,000 transfer fee from Wigan, and now he's going with 1 year to go. That's what they were mostly angry about.
I think they're also concerned too, and I don't know if this happens, but it's been put out there that the dealings with having a couple of players, that they'll play one off the other.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe there hasn't been full disclosure.
But again, so that's got to come down to the club's leadership, and they've got to be strong enough to say, well...
Not if they don't know what's happening.
That's exactly right. There have been players, certainly at the Canberra Raiders, that were that had a deal on the table from the Raiders that he did not know about.
Yeah, but how
because the manager kept it from the player.
How are you going to stop that? How are you going to stop that happening?
Dunno.
There's no way you can regulate that. No, there's no way you can do it.
All right, 40 seconds to go. The Bulldogs, in regards to Dean Pay, how much does it hurt the club, especially in terms of recruitment, to not basically decide the future of the coach?
Well, I think they've got bigger issues off the field, to be honest. If you hear some of the whispers getting around, the turmoil at board level and around them is just as chaotic as the coach.
Yeah, no major sponsor either at the Dogs currently. For me, I don't know how you plan for the future if you don't know who your head coach is. And I don't know what the Bulldogs want to see more from Dean Pay, given the current roster's not going to change. That's the roster they always knew they had. They certainly couldn't have planned for the Corey Harawira-Naera incident. And I think absolutely he's the right man for at least the next 2 seasons.
Just make a call. It's like a Band-Aid.
Make a call.
Just rip it off.
So are you saying, in regards to the Bulldogs, watch this space?
Oh, I think there's drama there at board level for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and around the club. And I think they'll make a decision, though, on Dean Pay in the next few weeks. Oh.